A body was hanging down in the mall, disfigured beyond recognition, with a note that read, "This is what happens when you betray us." This wasn't just murder, it was a warning. Severed limbs delivered to doorsteps, tortured to the point of no return. They made sure you'd never forget the price of disobedience. This is the story of London's multi-billion-dollar Albanian Mafia. And hey, if you love these dark lives, hit that subscribe button for more.
So, how did you get the nickname Lucky?
I got shot here plenty times. I'm alive. Plenty of my friends, they dead. My brother is dead. They shot him 13 times. It's not easy. This life is, forget about it. I will not like to do my kids that.
Something had kicked off the night before. The tension was thick in the air. On the corner, a group of men stood talking in low voices. One of them glanced over and muttered, "You don't want to be hanging around here too long." No explanation, no further words, just a quiet warning. This was Crisp House, a towering block on East London's Gascoigne estate, an undisputed Albanians territory. The gang, an Albanian street crew, flaunted gold Rolexes, a bunch of £50 notes, and fast cars to lure in younger recruits. They didn't just run the estate, they owned it. As the sun dipped below the skyline, two more men appeared. Their presence was unmistakable. When asked if they were Albanians, one simply said, "You should go." Moments later, the observer was escorted off the estate and warned never to return. But why would he say that? How did it get to this? How did the Albanian Mafia carve out an empire that now controls London's streets? The Albanian Mafia is one of the most secretive, disciplined, and dangerous criminal organizations in the world. Unlike other mafia groups that rely on sheer violence or numbers, Albanians operate on something far more powerful: loyalty, honor, and blood ties. Their structure is airtight. Each family clan, known as a fis or fair, is ruled by a bayrak, a high-ranking leader who answers to no one outside the family. Beneath him, a krye, which is the boss who calls the shots, selecting kryetar, the underbosses, and Mick, the trusted friends to oversee operations. There are no loose ends, no outsiders. Infiltration is nearly impossible. Other ethnic groups, they might be used to low-level jobs, but they'll never be part of the core. Once you're in for life, and breaking the code of honor is a death sentence.
By murdering people who tried to take over.
Once you give Besa, that's it. You have to die. You cannot give up the Besa. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Are you always carrying a weapon on you?
I have to.
The foundation of this system is Besa, a word that means trust, but carries much deeper meaning in Albanian culture. It's not just an oath, it's a verbal contract of absolute loyalty. Organized crime in Albania exploded in the early 1990s after the fall of communism.
Tended to see that many of the former communist security sectors were made redundant by the state, so they either tended to go into kind of these more informal organizations and networks, or they kind of went into private security provision.
Law enforcement collapsed, and the country became a breeding ground for extortion, blackmail, and human trafficking. By the mid-90s, Albania's criminal networks had already spread across Europe.
We keep good relationship, otherwise there is no hope. Goes from Colombia with the big boats, sometimes come to Albania. From here we go Montenegro, Serbia, Bosnia, across the borders. Oh, we pay the police sometimes, you know. We pay big companies with the trucks. You understand? All across Europe is corruption. Politician, police. I had to take it 6 kilos from Albania.
In London, things were different back then. The Gascoigne estate was controlled by white working-class crime families. It was brutal, segregated. If you were black and went there, you'd come out in an ambulance, a former resident recalled. But things changed when Albanian gangs moved in. The old rules didn't apply anymore. Albanians and other Albanian crews built their empire with a mix of ruthless efficiency and military-like discipline.
By some Albanians, that's how I got into it first, really.
There's always Albanian gangs about. There's a 24/7 service. You call them up any time of the day. They'll come drop you, just give them an address.
Their connections stretched from the Balkans to South America, giving them direct access to high-purity cocaine. They controlled the entire supply chain. From the moment the product left the cartels to the second it hit the streets of London, every step was handled by Albanian hands. The Albanian Mafia had power, real power. In 2003, Albania was described as a paradise for organized crime. You can buy politicians, and it is not rare to see a criminal leader working in a state institution. Albanian Prime Ministers Sali Berisha and Edi Rama have both been linked to criminal organizations. The line between government and organized crime is so thin, it barely exists. The country has been declared Europe's only narco state. Drug smuggling, human trafficking, arms dealing, and every major black market trade route through Albania. 4 powerful clans control the underworld. 20 mafia families answer to them. And from their base in the Balkans, they rule over an empire that stretches across Italy, Turkey, the UK, and beyond. The Gascoigne estate was just the surface. The real power lies in the shadows, in the hidden networks and offshore accounts. Albanians are the foot soldiers, the street dealers and enforcers of the Mafia Shqiptare, the Albanian Organized Crime Association. They're staging a near-complete takeover of the UK's £5 billion cocaine market. Their flashy trap music videos, dripping with cash, fast cars and gold-plated firearms aren't just for show. They serve as a warning. HB are ready for violence. For years, drug trafficking in the UK was a fragmented operation. International suppliers worked separately from wholesalers, who then sold to street gangs. Prices fluctuated based on purity. Higher purity means higher prices.
Sí, claro, aquí en Colombia hay albaneses. El estado de la droga que sí sea bien pura. Los albaneses se caracterizan por ser muy sangrientos, ¿sí? Y si alguien se le mete en sus terrenos, ellos acaban con todo lo que haya en el camino. No le importa acabar con una familia completa.
Instead of relying on European middlemen, they went straight to the source, Colombian cartels. Direct shipments from South America cut out the Dutch wholesalers who had long dominated the trade. While other gangs were paying £22,500 per kilo, the Albanians were getting it for £4,000 to £5,500. Higher purity cocaine at lower prices. Their product was so much better and cheaper that even rival gangs had no choice but to buy from them. Cocaine flooded the UK like never before. Prices hit their lowest since 1990, purity levels soared, and drug-related deaths skyrocketed. The UK now has the highest number of young cocaine users in Europe.
Over the years, this once poor, desolate village became a European marijuana bazaar. Absolute mountains of the stuff. Traffickers dealt directly with.
But for their monopoly to work, the Albanians needed to access Europe's ports, the crucial entry points for their massive shipments. This is where their partnership with the 'Ndrangheta came in. The 'Ndrangheta, Italy's most powerful mafia, controls much of Europe's cocaine trade. Instead of competing, the Albanians joined forces. Their shared connections in South America turned UK ports into cocaine highways. The strategy was simple. If you control the ports, you control the market. Smuggling drugs into the UK isn't easy. Security is tight. Getting the product past customs requires experts. But the Albanians are professionals. When you're this good at moving cargo, you stay ahead of the competition. But of course, even the best make mistakes. Claudian Chopia, a major Albanian trafficker, ran a £60 million cocaine operation before his couriers were caught meeting drug-laden lorries in Kent. Another dealer was arrested at a London petrol station with fake Italian documents and 2 kilos of cocaine hidden in his car. But these arrests barely made a dent. The supply chain was too well oiled. The Mafia Shqiptare had built a system that couldn't be stopped, at least not yet. Drugs are the biggest business, but the Albanians aren't just about cocaine. Their presence in the UK's criminal underworld runs deep. Albanian gangsters had connections with Britain's biggest ever cash robbery in 2006, the £53 million Securitas heist. Albanians controlled over 75% of the UK's brothels. In London's Soho alone, their operations were worth more than £50 million a year. They've embedded themselves in restaurants, bars and clubs, using legitimate businesses to launch launder money and stay under the radar. They control more than 70% of London's prostitution market, along with the Turkish crime groups. Their grip extends to cities across the UK, from Birmingham to Manchester, Lancaster to Telford. With such power and control, how have the Albanians avoided the bloody turf wars that destroyed other gangs? The answer lies in their cultural code, the deeply ingrained concept of besa, the unbreakable oath of loyalty. Combine that with kanun, the Albanian code of honor that demands revenge for betrayal, and you have an organization that is both disciplined and deadly. While other criminal groups wage constant wars over territory, the Albanians build relationships. They were unusually skilled at forging links with rival OCGs, organized crime groups. This strategic approach has left Liverpool as the only city resisting the Albanian wave. Unlike the rest of the UK, Liverpool's homegrown gangs control their own South American supply lines. The Albanians haven't been able to muscle in, yet. Unlike the sophisticated bosses pulling the strings from the shadows, Albanians are loud, flashy, and very online. Their social media presence is part marketing, part intimidation. The Gascoigne estate became an Albanian stronghold. Before then, a Jamaican gang led by Delroy the King Lewis ran a 24-hour crack and heroin operation there. But when Lewis was jailed in 2004, the estate saw a new wave of Albanian immigrants, many of them refugees from Kosovo. Within a few years, Albanians took control. Rookwood House, one of the estate's tower blocks, became their headquarters. Its layout, interconnected walkways, few access points made it easy to defend from both police and rival gangs. They even used it as a backdrop in their music videos, like the track Hood Life, a blatant display of their power. But nothing lasts forever. In a massive urban redevelopment project, Rookwood House was demolished. The tower that once symbolized Albanians' dominance was reduced to rubble. Did it weaken them? Not at all. They simply moved their operations elsewhere. Despite losing their stronghold in the Gascoigne estate, Albanians remained active. Their new base, a prime spot near the King's Lounge pub, where they gather every night like clockwork. Same faces, same lot, one local muttered. They aren't hiding either. Albanians want to be seen, to be feared. Their YouTube videos, drenched in wealth and violence, serve as recruitment ads for young, impressionable falcons, eager to make a name in the cocaine trade. The numbers speak for themselves, with kilo shipments costing just a few £1,000s and street prices soaring at £40 per gram. It's an empire built on staggering profits. These young dealers aren't just making a quick buck, they're rolling in millions. Social media was Albanians' biggest weapon, drawing in recruits and flaunting their dominance. Before Instagram shut down their account in November, they had 115,000 followers, an audience for their lavish lifestyle of Bentleys, gold chains, and stacks of cash. Their 2018 hit, Hood Life, filmed in Gascoigne before the estate's demolition, amassed 7.5 million views. The message was clear: Albanians was untouchable. But the violence was never just for show. Their lyrics weren't empty threats. The gang openly taunted rivals like OTR, or on top of the rest, promising all-out war. One resident dubbed them the Stabbers, recalling how innocent pedestrians would feel a sudden sting, only to later realize they'd been knifed by a Albanians team. Albanians' recklessness dangerousness was on full display in 2016, when gang member Tristan Aslani led police on a high-speed chase in Crouch End, crashing into a shop. Inside his wrecked vehicle, officers found a suitcase packed with cocaine. A search of his home uncovered another 21 kilograms of drugs and a Scorpion machine pistol with a silencer. His downfall was just another reminder of the gang's growing carelessness. The Albanian Mafia isn't thrilled about Albanians' flashy tactics. The Mafia Shqiptare, the true architects of the UK's cocaine trade, operates in the shadows, avoiding unnecessary attention. Their business is built on trust, discipline, and the promise of besa, loyalty above all. For them, Albanians' antics are bad for business. In Barking's Longridge Road, where Albanian-owned cafes and restaurants serve as quiet fronts for the real economy, locals either scowl at the mention of Albanians or pretend they don't exist. This isn't the Albanian way, says one man, shaking his head. Real businessmen don't attract attention. Despite the internal friction, the Mafia Shqiptare keeps the cocaine flowing. Recruitment is easier than ever. The next generation of street dealers is always waiting, eager to swap poverty for power. But as the Albanians cement their control, law enforcement is catching up. In November 2023, a major police raid targeted an Albanian criminal network led by brothers Edmund and Edward Haziri. Authorities seized a smartphone that, once unlocked, provided an unprecedented look into their drug empire. Routes, suppliers, corrupt officials. The operation dealt a serious blow to Albanian dominance. Yet, even as arrests pile up, the money never stops flowing. In April 2024, The Times reported that drug money from Albanian gangs was transforming Tirana into a miniature Dubai. Lavish skyscrapers, luxury cars, and high-end clubs filled the capitals, funded by the billions pouring in from the UK's streets. But what do you think? Can Albanians and the Mafia Shqiptare survive under growing police pressure? Or will their own arrogance and greed lead to their downfall? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and explore more untold stories from the criminal underworld. Hit subscribe and stay connected. Power never truly fades.